Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday. I am Julie Ann Mejia, and this is episode 8 of The Holistic Alternative. Today, we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. Her story and case has made national headlines on traditional news outlets. She has become a tremendous healthcare advocate and raised awareness on the dangers of black box warning FDA-approved antibiotics. Although she struggles with the repercussions of consuming Cipro, she resiliently pushes through each day and continues to educate the public with her beautiful content and her story. She has created a wonderful space for others who have suffered from these harmful prescriptions as well, and oftentimes lend support to each other. Today, it is my great honor and privilege to welcome Talia Smith to the show. Talia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Absolutely. It's great to see you and to talk with you and have you as a guest. I know all, the community is watching, and this episode is for them as well. So we send everyone our love today. I'd love to just start at the beginning. Talia, can you just tell me a little bit about what transpired, how life was before taking these prescribed antibiotics?
So before I took Cipro, I was extremely healthy. I worked out 7 days a week. I had a full-time career. I took care of my husband, who's a disabled veteran, his primary caretaker. And I did not know the world of chronic illness or how to navigate the medical system at all. I only went to my doctors for my yearly appointments, and I ended up getting a urinary tract infection, which I had not had in at least a decade. So I was not someone with frequent urinary tract infections either. But as a woman, you know what a UTI is when you have one most of the time, right? So I just went to the doctor and said, I have a urinary tract infection, I'm pretty sure. I requested a urinalysis and a culture, and prescribed me Cipro, and here I am. I was prescribed the medication, and I was very nervous to take it because I was nervous of medication in general. I didn't take a lot of medications, and antibiotics always made me nervous. And I said, is there anything I need to know about this antibiotic? It seems a little strong, like from the universe. I just felt like it was a strong antibiotic. I wasn't sure. Plus, they also told me I had a very low bacteria count, so I assumed I would need like a baby antibiotic, so to speak, not something so strong hitting. And I got the answer that, nope, there is nothing you need to know. This antibiotic is very safe and effective for UTIs. The office uses it all the time. So I went home. I took the pills the first day fine. On my third pill the second day, I was having a really hard time walking. I had a lot of pain in my legs, and I said, let me go to bed, and tomorrow when I get up, I'm sure everything will be fine. And I woke up the next morning and I couldn't walk, and that's when I went to the emergency room, saying that I could no longer walk. I didn't understand why. The only thing I had done differently in my life is take an antibiotic, but I know it can't be that. That's what I said. That's how much I knew at the time. And that's when I became partially informed by the ER doctor, who immediately said to me, "Are you taking Cipro?" And my heart stopped at that moment. I knew that was bad. If I couldn't walk and he knew I was taking Cipro somehow. And he informed me what a black box warning was, and that Cipro had one for tendon and tendon ruptures. I know now there's a lot more black box warnings than that, but at the time it was enough to give me the information I needed to figure things out. I was told to go home, take NSAIDs. Ugh. So anybody that knows about that's kind of like a lethal combination, taking NSAIDs and fluoroquinolones. But that's what I was told to do because I was in so much pain. And then from there, my progression was so rapid. In weeks, I was already like not even able to shower myself. Week to week to week, my progression just got worse. Not able to eat, sharp shooting electrical pains, tremors, the whole 9 yards. And just to the point where, 5 months later, I was admitted to hospice, weighing 60 pounds. I had lost over 50% of my body weight in just five months. That's how fast my decline was. So.
Oh my God, that is truly horrific. As someone that used to work in traditional medicine, we were taught to trust in the system, but the system is so beyond broken, as we clearly can see. They're not trying to essentially help us get better. They've known about these black box warning and the issues surrounding some of these medications.
Yeah, and what I feel like is so frustrating is, the FDA states, now that I know this, that fluoroquinolone antibiotics should be used as last resort only when no other options are available, right? There are 7 black box warnings. The first one came out in 2008. The most damaging one is 2016 for permanent and disabling side effects. I took Cipro all the way in 2021. That's plenty of time for doctors to get on board and to understand how dangerous these antibiotics are. And the fact that when I called and said, I was in the emergency room, I can't walk, I immediately was prescribed Augmentin. Well, why didn't you prescribe me Augmentin first? And of course, I refused to take that antibiotic because I was already a disaster at that point. And when I, down the line, when I eventually, ended up confronting, I don't want that to sound negative, but, I brought the documentation to my doctor and said, I don't want this to happen to anybody like me. Like, I don't want anyone else to end up like me. And I was totally dismissed, told that the office would continue to prescribe it. They always have, and no one had ever had a reaction like that to me. Like me. And to me, that was like mind blown. And I'm like, why aren't you taking me seriously? I've never come to see you with problems, and now I know I'm like a frequent flyer here and at the hospitals, but you never saw my face before. That should give me some, like, I don't know, credibility in your eyes. And she's like, oh, it does, but it doesn't, because you didn't take me seriously. And the fact that I'm showing you the warnings and you're saying that you're going to give it to people anyway, that just seems like, I don't know, that seems against some Hippocratic oath or something, to do no harm, when I'm showing you the harm that these antibiotics can cause and have caused me. So it's just,
and you're not the only one.
No, I didn't know many people at the time, so I only had myself to go on. But if I could go back today, it would be a totally different story. But yeah, I trusted that office. I trusted my doctor, and I said, oh, she's a great doctor. But now that I think back about it, why? She never did anything for me. In 10 years, I never needed her. So when I actually did, look what happened. It was all about treating my symptoms. Oh, if you have a headache, let's give you this. Oh, if you have neuropathy, let's give you some of this. But all of those drugs are so harmful to someone that's been floxed, and it just makes them worse and worse. And that's why my decline was so rapid. I kept doing whatever the doctors were telling me to do because I really trusted them at the beginning. And then about halfway through, I knew this system that wasn't going to do anything for me.
It's
So
broken. It's absolutely broken. And that's a great point. Let's talk to people about and educate them now. What does it mean to be floxed?
So floxed means that it's not a medical term. It's a term that I guess has been coined by people like me. It's been around for a long time. And it just means that it is someone that has taken a fluoroquinolone antibiotic and is suffering from the adverse effects of that, right? Whether it's fluoroquinolone associated disability, just some adverse effects, whatever that may be, we are suffering the effects of a fluoroquinolone. So that's what floxed means. So fluoroquinolone, floxed.
Yep.
That's how that came out. So yeah.
No, I think that's great. And so fluoroquinolones can be in multiple formats, correct? Not
Correct.
just in pill form, right?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I've been interviewed a lot, and I do talk about the different forms uh, a lot, but not that often on interviews. And I think we are most commonly used to pills, maybe injections, IVs. But the one thing I wanted to point out here, because I get questions about this all the time, is can I get floxed from taking Cipro eye drops or ear drops? And the answer is yes. There are lots of people that I know that are floxed from taking just one eye drop or an ear drop. That those two are not included in the black box warnings, but if you look them up in all the literature from the National Institute of Health, PubMed, whatever, that information is there. They're just as harming and disabling as pill form or injectables. And there's fluoroquinolones and lots of other things, medical supplies, meats, all that. Like there's lots of stuff, but I'm just focusing on that one area that people keep asking me about. And it's, for parents out there, it's pretty alarming because if you think about eye drops, probably we take eye drops the most, adults, but I feel like it's probably children that takes ear drops the most. So
Right.
I think that's something for parents to be on the lookout for when their children gets, uh, diagnosed with an ear infection, to make sure they're not taking a fluoroquinolone ear drop. There are plenty other ear drops that children can take. So
Of course. And it's truly, daunting that, prescribers are continuing to push these pharmaceuticals that they know cause bodily harm when there are so many other options out there for antibiotic use.
yeah, yeah, and when I was prescribed Augmentin, that is when the doctor brought up this list, and I said, "What are all those things?" She said, "Those are all the antibiotics that this bacteria is susceptible to." So there's like 20 antibiotics on that list that could have been taken instead. So that is what infuriates me to this day. And the fact that I go back and say something and I'm dismissed, and it's not Talia making this up. This is from the FDA. There's stats from the Centers of Disease Control. Like it just
It's disturbing because you know what? I think a lot of physicians prescribe medications they're not aware and they don't read the studies prior to prescribing to patients.
I think they're just used to doing the same thing, and that's what they do. That office prescribed Cipro for a long time, and that's what they do. So,
So, what are other preventatives that people can use in place of Cipro and fluoroquinolines in general?
I'll here's my little spiel. Everyone that's
Yeah,
watched me is like, here she goes again. So,
it's great.
if
I think it's very important that you
yeah,
show and teach people because a lot of people aren't aware.
yeah. So, if you have a UTI or if you think you have a UTI, and I say UTI because that is what so many people get Cipro for. Cipro is used for other things, yes, but many people get it for UTIs. The problem with urinary tract infection today's in the medical system is that I don't know what has happened along the line, but there's not really any testing anymore. You say, oh, it burns when I pee, bam, here's your prescription of Cipro. And that is disturbing to me because there are so many people that have been floxed that never even needed an antibiotic in the first place. So my spiel is, first of all, test, don't guess. Make sure you actually have a UTI. So that would mean talking to your doctor and requesting a urinalysis and a culture. A culture is going to tell you the exact organism that is in your bladder, so they can correlate that to an antibiotic and not just give you a broad spectrum antibiotic like Cipro, because they don't know exactly what the bacteria is. So urinalysis and culture. And then you can go from there, and you can make an informed healthcare decision on what you want to do after that. If the doctor tells you that a fluoroquinolone is your only option, ask to see that list. You've got to second guess them. There are also natural remedies that can be taken instead. And when I attempted to do that, my doctor scared the crap out of me and said that if I didn't take an antibiotic, I would get sepsis and die. So I was so afraid. That's when I turned down Augmentin. It was like, what do you mean? You're not going to take an antibiotic? No. And that's when I was told if I didn't, I would end up with sepsis and die. And I was so scared, but I didn't take the antibiotic and I didn't get sepsis. But there are many natural remedies you can try before jumping into an antibiotic. And I know many people that cure their UTIs without antibiotics in the first place.
Yeah, cranberry supplements are great, oregano oil capsules, berberine. There are so many holistic alternatives to harmful pharmaceuticals that will naturally help rid the infections out the body.
Right, because once that antibiotic's in there, it's killing the good and the bad bacteria. So, and that's why all of us floxies have such damaged guts. We have pretty much damaged everything. Mitochondria, central nervous system, the list goes on and on. But that would be my advice to prevent getting floxed anytime you're prescribed an antibiotic that's a fluoroquinolone. Doesn't matter if it's a UTI or not. I would ask for an alternative. If they don't have one, they don't have one. But if they do, then maybe you just dodged a bullet. Not everybody that takes a fluoroquinolone gets floxed, but it's much more prevalent than you may think.
Oh, I see it all the time. I hear patients that contact me. They're like, hey, they prescribe this. What are your thoughts? And it's stories like yours that are so impactful that we need to keep sharing to the public because knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
It's really concerning. And let's talk about some of your advocacy work. This has led to a different life for you. It's a beautiful thing to be an advocate. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears hearing everybody's stories, but you have given so much hope to the community. I know because I've been on some of the meetings that you've held. Let's talk a little bit about your advocacy work.
Yeah, so when I first got sick, and I was on hospice, I wasn't documenting anything because what was the point? I wasn't supposed to make it. So once I made it past that point and I moved to palliative care, that's when my husband's like, you need to share this story. Other people need to know this. So because I started finding more and more people that were like me. And he's like, you need to get out there. You're such a voice in general. So you need to share your story. But it took me about a year because not just from an emotional place, but a physical place. I physically could barely even speak. And even now speaking for long periods of time makes me dizzy. The damage that fluoroquinolones do to your mitochondria is just, it's like extinction level event here. It's like it affects everything. So it took me about a year to get to a place to be able to share my story and not lose it, because it's a very traumatic story that I have, a traumatic experience I've gone through. And then I needed to build up my skin, is what I say. Have some thick skin, because there are always going to be, negative people plus people that support you. And I was either going to go all in or not at all. So I had no social media before this except Facebook, and kind of used Instagram because my stepdaughter set it up for me because I didn't know how to use it.
No, it's a lot of us. They're the same. So.
And I went on TikTok, and if you go back and look at my first video, I'm like, I don't know how to use TikTok. And then I'm like, I don't even know if this is going to put, and it posts mid sentence. I'm like, that work? Like, when I think about me then to now, it's such a difference. But I can't remember how. But I first I posted a video about me in the hospital bed, and that thing went viral. And I honestly didn't think people would care because I'm sick. Like that doesn't seem interesting, I thought. But when it got like 200,000 views, I was like, oh my God, I think I have an audience. And then I linked up with my friend Tanya and Grace, and they were heading this, or part of it, whatever it was, letter writing campaign to the FDA. So they asked me if I wanted to be part of it, and literally overnight wrote that letter in my mind and then recorded it the next day. That's how much that had been brewing for that whole time. So I read my letter on TikTok, and I posted it, and then like a couple weeks later I got called from the FDA. So that was like, okay, people are listening to me. Holy crap. So, okay, now I need to hone my message because I know that people are listening. And I mean, one thing just led to another. You've seen, my simple videos like how to avoid getting floxed, what to do if you've been floxed, just like the emotional journey this takes on all of us. And then ICD-10 codes. That was a big one, which will be in effect October 2025. And those ICD-10 codes are for adverse effects of fluoroquinolones.
That's awesome.
They exist for all other antibiotics except fluoroquinolones to date. So next year that will change, and medical professionals will be able to tag us with adverse effects of fluoroquinolones. So waiting for October 2025. So after that, we also did an informed consent for fluoroquinolones. That's still not done. And that means that anytime someone is prescribed a fluoroquinolone antibiotic, they have to be told the warnings. The doctor has to discuss it with them, and they have to sign a paper. That way, that person knows no matter what at that time what the dangers are of a fluoroquinolone. And if they choose to take that, then that's their own decision. Then from there, we went to Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Awareness Day, and that was a very big turnout. And that was our whole community across the world joining together that day, sharing their stories, sharing other people's stories. It was amazing. And I know we did a good job because we were all getting blocked on platforms by mid to late day. So
that's how you know you made it. That's great.
must have done something good, but that event was twofold. It was to make the public aware of fluoroquinolone antibiotics, and as they scroll through social media that day, since we flooded social media, that they would see something about fluoroquinolones and stop. The other point of that day was to bring us together across the world, because this is a global, worldwide problem. This is not the USA. And other countries have it way worse because they don't even understand the word flox to fluoroquinolone toxicity. So it was the point that we all gathered together that day as one and showed support for our cause and for each other. So it was a beautiful day, the first of many, and they will continue.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I mean, what am I doing now? Is that it? I don't know. I can't. Oh, I've been
No,
doing
and you know what? You
so.
brought up an outstanding point. How easy is it for some countries to get access to these harmful black box prescriptions?
Yeah, this is pretty insane. And for people that may not know this, that are outside of the country, and for people outside of the country that are watching this, that you know what I'm about to say, I've had many people reach out to me and say, I took this antibiotic and I don't feel well. I saw your story, but they don't understand what's going on. And they have no support whatsoever from the medical system. They just don't know in other countries. They said they walked into a clinic, they were told they had whatever kind of infection, and they needed to go get the antibiotic at the corner store down the street. No joke. These people have sent me pictures of their blister packs, like you pop it out and you take it like gum. And they just bought it at a convenience store and took it. And it's crazy to me, first of all, by prescription, that practitioners are not following the FDA guidelines, but the fact that it's just sitting there on a shelf, anybody could take it for any reason, could just diagnose themselves. I have a cough. Maybe I need an antibiotic. You know what I mean? So that is just mind-blowing in other countries, and I just feel bad. We don't have support in the US. We really don't, but at least we have each other. In other countries, they don't even have that because it's just so unknown. And they're
It's
like, I just bought
so
it at a
scary.
convenience store. They don't
Yeah.
understand. I'm like, oh,
I,
I know.
I remember a while back you had posted about a company that did these survival kit packages, and that was one of the products that was in there. And I'm like, this is insane to me. How is this legal? How is
There,
this legal?
there's many companies that do that. It's not just the one that we called out. That's the one I saw first. And then after that, I saw all the other ones afterwards, the medical emergency kits. That if you were in the wilderness or something, supposedly, and in life or death situation, you could take the antibiotic. But the more you listen to those advertisements, it's more like, well, also out of convenience. Maybe it's in the middle of the night and you have children, you need to go to the hospital. Just pop it out of your kid and take it. So, I don't know how those are legal, but I do know of foundations and organizations that have tried to stop that, and they have not been successful. Those companies are still.
Well, they don't make money on curing people, do they?
No, no.
It's terrible. And what was the FDA's conversation like? Were they supportive at all? Because when I've talked to them about different advocacy stuff, even talking to the ombudsman, they were not supportive. They don't make it easy.
Yeah, so I tried to stick to the facts because I really just wanted to scream and flip out, but I was like, keep it to the facts, give them their own information back, which is always hard to argue with. And I kept bringing up the fact, last resort only. My doctor did not follow that, that type of thing. And they were just so apologetic. Can't believe this happened to me. They're sorry. And I said, well, why do you publish these black box warnings if nobody has to listen to them? What's the point? And they
Right.
said to me that it's like they have to publish these black box warnings. I mean, this is not their words, it's mine. It's really a CYA, right? They did not
Yep.
say that, but it is. And they have no enforcement at the state level of these guidelines. So they cannot enforce that doctors follow these rules. So that is very confusing to me. You're putting out these warnings and saying one thing, but doctors, do whatever you want because you don't need to listen to us. So they told me to contact my attorney general, which I did, and they contacted me back, which I was surprised too. They contacted me back, and they told me to contact my state and local reps. I have not heard from them, but I did hear back from the drug manufacturer and my attorney general in my state, who talked about disciplining doctors for not following guidelines. So
It's like, okay, we shouldn't even have products that can be debilitating for patients. It's totally unethical from a medical standpoint. Why
yeah,
are these on the market?
they claim, the FDA, was that there are a couple of bacterial or whatever infections that they do not have alternative for. So until they find an alternative to treat these handful of infections, bacteria, whatever, fluoroquinolones will stay on the market. So that's what I was told. So that's why I said, okay, well, if they're not going to come off anytime soon, what are all the ways that we can protect ourselves? Which is knowledge, telling telling the public about fluoroquinolones. I'm never, and none of us that are advocates in this community are saying, don't ever take a fluoroquinolone no matter what. It may be your last resort as life or death, right? We're saying you need to be knowledgeable, be aware of the warnings, and make your own decision for yourself, right? And that's what we're here to do, is just tell you the dangers of taking the fluoroquinolones. We don't want to see people end up like us, because when you do, you're alone. We're alone. There's no cure. There's no standard treatment. We're out here on an island trying to heal ourselves and hoping that we'll get better, because no Western medicine doctor, most Western medicine doctors are not going to help you. And even naturopaths and functionals, they may or may not understand either. So we're trying to prevent people from getting to this point that once you're here, what are you going to do? And that's why we feel hopeless. Are we ever going to get cured? Are we ever going to get better? It's not like if you had, I don't know, some kind of disease that had a very specific treatment plan and regimen. That's not what this is. That's like, oh, what did this Floxy do? Let me try that. Oh, I got sick. Let me try. And then the thing is, once your mitochondria is damaged, you start getting all these other illnesses. So it's no more about being floxed. It's about, oh my God, you have Epstein-Barr now. Oh, you have Lyme. You have mold. Like you have all these things that, where did they come from? It's just your immune system is so impacted that you're full of everything at that
You have
point.
cellular toxicity on a cellular level now.
Exactly.
So, did anyone ever tell you or recommend going to a medical toxicologist? Like, there has to be some kind of guidance. That's insane to me that they
There
don't give
was
any type of support.
none whatsoever. The Western medicine doctor said, your symptoms, constellation of symptoms don't fit nicely in a box. So we don't know what to do with you. Exact words. We don't know what to do with you. All we can do is treat symptoms at this point. Well, like I said, that is what makes us worse, giving all these medications. The other thing that makes us worse is when doctors don't believe us and think we're crazy, and then try to give them all these kinds of benzos or whatever kind of medication.
Psychiatric meds, yeah.
That make things like 10 times worse because our GABA receptors are damaged. The list goes on and on. So then I said, I'm going to have to research this thing myself. I'm going to have to read every book I can, get in touch with everybody that I can. Then I got mast cell activation syndrome. So throw that one into the mix. I had to learn about that too. And then
Can you tell people, if you don't mind, what that is?
Sure. Mast cell activation syndrome is basically, white cells make up your immune system. And so that is where the mast cells are. They're part of your white blood cells in your immune system. And when you have mast cell activation syndrome, your immune system has been improperly triggered for whatever reason. There has been some insult to your body, and now your mast cells are firing and attacking everything that you attempt to take, right? So but when a normal person gets sick, these mast cells come out, they fight the virus, the person gets better, the mast cells retreat. They're done. Once you have mast cell activation syndrome, your white cells, your immune system can't tell what's friend or foe. It fights everything. And that's why we're limited on supplements, we're limited on food, because your mast cells think that it's trying to poison you, it's trying to make you sick, it's trying to protect you. But in actuality, it makes things a lot more difficult for us because I can only eat 6 foods. If I could have more than 6 foods, I'm sure my floxing recovery would be different. And a lot of people that have been floxed get mast cell activation syndrome. And it's not just from floxing, they get it from Lyme disease, mold, blah, blah, blah. But you will see that a lot of floxies have sensitivities to medications, food, and have some form of mast cell activation, whether it's severe as me or minor, just because, again, like you said, cellular level toxicity. So
It's a tragedy, and it's totally preventable. And thank you for your bravery. A lot of people would have said, "Hey, I'm just gonna continue doing hospice. I don't have the fight in me." You have taken a very difficult situation and continued pushing forward and tried to make something positive out of it.
yeah.
So, I commend you for doing this. I know it's difficult each day, just even talking with me. So, thank you for getting your message out there so that the public is informed, because the more people that know about it, hopefully we can prevent somebody else from this occurring.
Right. That's why I say if it's not going to be top-down approach, we'll do it bottom-up, grassroots. And
That's it.
I say to everybody that's watching me, it breaks my heart every time people reach out to me that you are made to feel that you are crazy, that this illness is in your head, that you are not. You need to stand firmly in your belief that you've been floxed, and don't ever let that go. No matter what the doctors tell you, just keep saying you are floxed and do not give in. That is what I did this whole journey. When I had psychiatrists tell me that I was anorexic, I got out of my room. I had an antibiotic that poisoned me. I never let them in here, or I was never going to make it off of hospice. Never. So Don't let them get in there. Stick to your belief. And another thing that I found very helpful, take people with you to your appointments. They will be less aggressive with you when you have someone else there, especially a spouse or something like that, if possible. So I always give that advice, just stand your ground, because this is not in your head. And the doctors may not understand or care what's going on, but there is a community here that can help you. That's what we're here for. Unfortunately, I wish it was under better circumstances, but that's just the cards
We
that life dealt me and us and everyone else that's floxed. So
you got to just keep pushing forward, and holding them accountable is key here too. I know you can't really talk too much, but I know you have a case moving forward, and I encourage everyone that feels that they've been floxed to get in touch with you and get support in that regard as well, because again, until we hold these entities accountable from a legal standpoint, we're not going to be able to make significant impact. So this is your contact information, correct?
yes, it is. That's
Oh,
my link tree.
okay, great.
Look you right
Everyone,
up.
Talia, I so appreciate your bravery. I appreciate all the advocacy. You're doing amazing things. I know this is difficult, but everything in life is temporary. I'm hopeful that, you're going to make a full recovery, and your story is going to impact so we get these harmful medications off the market.
I just want to say before we go, thank you for your support, Julia, and for everybody out there that has supported me on this journey. All my fellow Floxies, I see you and stand with you. And as one of my dear friends says, I know she's watching this right now, I'm holding a line for you and for all of us. And please keep telling your short stories. Shout them from the rooftop. Nobody is going to listen and pay attention to us otherwise.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time. I know this took a lot of energy, and I so appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Julie.
You're so welcome. Thank you guys so much for watching and seeing Talia's story. We hope we can get this information out there to prevent others from experiencing what she did. And to the community that have been floxed, I'm sending you guys so much love now and always. And we're so excited to have you all on the platform today. And tune in next month. We're going to have another beautiful guest with us. Thank you guys so much, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Take care.
5 Little Known Secrets for Dementia Caregivers with Tracy Cram-Perkins.
Hi there, I am Tracy Cram-Perkins, the host of the Dementia Home Care Show here on USA Global TV and Radio. I am also the author of the book of the same name. And you'll see this QR code. This is for an extended version of the same talk. So if you want to see the full hour-long version, feel free to scan the code and go to that website. Stick with me. We'll talk about 5 little known secrets to make it a little easier to do dementia caregiving. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is a healthy aged brain, age 55 and above. The one you're seeing on the right is an Alzheimer's disease brain. It is in moderate disease. It is shrinking. It has holes in it. The memories that were in those holes no longer exist. When you're learning something, let's say in kindergarten, you learn how to tie your shoelace. Well, then by the time you're in second grade, your brain remembers that information from tying the shoelace and applies it so you can learn more quickly how to tie more complex knots. So the brain is hardwired to do this for us. So it helps us learn faster so it doesn't take us long to acquire knowledge. The brain is looking for the information and they pick the closest to wherever that hole is. Let's look at some tips that we can use to help do that.
These are 5 simple tools you can use as a dementia caregiver to help your loved one. The whiteboard is a useful tool in recording the day's activities and the answers to repetitive questions. The calendar clock is a very useful tool to orient your loved one on the day, the date, and the time, and remind them of upcoming appointments. The communication cards are a great tool to bridge the gap when they can no longer tell you what's wrong. And then there's the pill minder for when your loved one is still able to take pills but needs prompting. The final tool I want to share with you is the memory book. It tells your loved one's story. It's a great tool for distraction, redirection, also as a conversation starter, and telling you where they are in their story so you know how to answer their questions. Music is probably the most powerful tool in your toolbox after laughter. Music is a way to maintain connection. It sticks with your brain longer than any other thing, including reading. When you're having an issue with somebody, you can play their favorite music if you move them to another room, something that makes them happy, or you can start singing songs together from their childhood. These are some of my favorite books for caregivers. My show airs on the third Tuesday of every month, and you can view past episodes on YouTube. Thank you, everyone.
This program has been brought to you in part by Tracy Cram Perkins. Connect with her and order her book at tracycramperkins.com. For more information about Alzheimer's disease, support resources, and how you can help, contact the Alzheimer's Association at 1-800-272-3900 or visit their website at www.alz.org. They offer 24/7 helpline support and a wealth of information to assist you and your loved ones.
We face daily cyber risks, spending over 7 hours of screen time, including 4.5 hours on mobile phones. This convenience comes with significant dangers, with cybercrime costs predicted to exceed $10.5 trillion by 2025. In 2023 alone, seniors lost over $3.4 billion to cybercrime. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, senior living facilities, investment companies, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We offer real-life examples to help you recognize and prevent attacks, with sessions available both in person, in selected regions, and remotely. Schedule your training session, or to learn more, contact us today. Call us at 847-845-9360. Email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com. Protect your team and family with cybersecurityeasy.com.
My name is Dr. Felix Kravitz, and I am the founder of cybersecurityeasy.com, LLC. We live in a world full of vulnerabilities and cyber risks. We spend almost 4.5 hours a day on our mobile phones. It's over 7 hours of screen time daily when including computer use. We often forget that this convenience comes with risks. Published data predicts that the cost of cybercrime will exceed $10.5 trillion in 2025. These numbers encompass not only businesses, but also each one of us, including our children and our parents. In 2023, the FBI reported over $3.4 billion lost by seniors aged 60 and older. CybersecurityEasy.com LLC's initiative is to massively support the community by providing cyber safety coaching and improving social engineering awareness. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, seniors, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We cover various topics, from phone phishing attacks to AI-generated voice cloning, robocalls, password protection, and more, using life examples. Talk to us today. Call us at 847-845-9360 or email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com.